Good evening. Finance and Commerce Incorporated is pleased to honor this evening's honorees with the 2012 Progress Minnesota Awards Program. Here to begin the program is the Vice President and Publisher of Finance and Commerce, Inc. Welcome, Steve Yan.
Thank you. Just real quick before we get started, I want to let everyone know that the bar and the heavy hors d'oeuvres, and I finally figured out what a heavy hors d'oeuvre is. It's a small plate with a lot of food on it, but that will be available throughout the program, so feel free to get up and work your way back and have some more. Well, again, I'm Steve Yan, Vice President and Publisher of Finance and Commerce Incorporated. On behalf of Finance and Commerce, our sponsors, and the numerous associations throughout the state that helped us put this together this evening, I'd like to welcome you to the inaugural Progress Minnesota Awards reception. Thank you very much for coming, everyone. Although it goes largely unrecognized, economic development and job creation, as we're all aware, is extremely vital in the state of Minnesota. Maybe even more so today than ever before. And I think testament to that is Governor Dayton proclaiming today, April 11th, 2012, as Progress Minnesota Day in conjunction with this event. And I'd like to just thank him for that. Today we're going to recognize numerous individuals, associations, industry for the work they did in 2011 in this arena. We're also going to recognize a couple of individuals for the work they've done over the years in economic development and job creation. But an event like this wouldn't happen if it wasn't for the support of our sponsors. And I'd like the folks from Mid-Country Bank to please stand at this moment to be recognized for helping us put this event together. Thank you very much. Well, without their help, this would not be happening this evening. I'd also like to thank our numerous corporate table sponsors, and we'll hold the applause till the end there, but if when I read your name off, if the folks from that table could stand, that would be fantastic. The Alexandria Area Economic Development Commission, Anchor Bank, Apex, Center for Energy and Environment, Greater MSP, the Sartell Group, and Weber Shandwick. Thank you very much for your support this evening. Our pre-awards presentation speaker does not need any introduction. Everyone knows this individual, knows them well. But I do need to let you know that although our speaker had another engagement this evening, he has freed up some time to join us this evening, but he will have to leave a little bit early to get to another engagement. Without further ado, please welcome U.S. Senator Al Franken.
Thank you all. Thanks for the, he doesn't need any introduction. I like that. It's great to be here. I want to thank you, Steve, for inviting me to spend some time with Minnesota's most innovative business leaders. Tonight is Finance and Commerce's first annual Progress Minnesota Awards. All of the individuals and organizations being honored at tonight's event exemplify Minnesota's entrepreneurial spirit and demonstrate what can be accomplished when we come together in common purpose during some trying times. And that's what I want to talk about for a few minutes tonight. We have a big job ahead of us as we move Minnesota forward, as we help our communities find sounder economic footing, and as we position Minnesota as a leader in the 21st century economy. If you believe what you see on cable news, that our government and indeed our country is irreparably divided along partisan ideological lines, and you might be tempted to think that that's a hopelessly tall order. But Minnesotans understand that we don't have to follow anyone's ideological playbook to rebuild our prosperity. We simply need to follow our own example. Just take a moment to think about who is in the room here tonight. There are 13 individuals and 15 companies being recognized. They hail from small and large communities, from Virginia to Minneapolis, Lakeville to Elk River. They are leaders in fields such as engineering, healthcare, economic development, and finance, and in manufacturing. And in all of these fields and industries, Minnesota has been a leader, pioneering the way for others to follow. We'll be hearing more about each individual and company or organization later in the program, and I am honored to be here tonight to recognize the entrepreneurial spirit of the people in this room tonight. And that is the spirit that will drive us and our economy forward. Minnesota's workers are our greatest asset. I believe we get up earlier, work harder, solve problems better, and take more initiative than our counterparts around the world. You've each worked hard to climb the mountain in your business lives, and you recognize that it's just not your role to sit at the top of the mountain and enjoy the view, but to help pull your neighbors up with you. We're all in this together. That spirit has long been part of the great tradition of small business and middle-class families in Minnesota and in America. And I grew up in that tradition. When I was 4 years old, my dad moved our family from New Jersey to Albert Lea. My dad never really had a career as such. He did not graduate from high school. His father died when he was 16, but my other grandfather, my mom's dad, had a factory in the East, quilting factory, made quilting, the lining of winter coats, you know, back when Minnesota had cold winters. And my dad, despite having no experience as an entrepreneur, saw an opportunity and tried to go for it. So the Frankens moved to Albert Lea, Minnesota, from Little Falls, New Jersey, to see if mid-continent quilting would be our ticket to the top. Now, you'll notice that Steve did not introduce me as Al Franken, heir to the mid-continent quilting fortune. So you might guess that things didn't quite work out the way that my dad had hoped or imagined, and indeed it took about 2 years before the plant failed, and we ended up moving up to St. Louis Park. My dad was a great guy. He just not a great businessman. And years later, I asked my dad, you know, why Albert Lea? I said, why exactly Albert Lea? He said, and my dad he inhaled a pipe for 50 years and was from the East Coast. So he said, well, your grandfather wanted to open a factory in the Midwest, and the railroad went through Albert Lea. And I said, okay, well, why did the factory fail? He said, well, it went through Albert Lea, but it wouldn't stop. So a sweeter man never walked this earth, but he was not a great businessman. Now, maybe if Dad had been as smart as Recon Robotics or E-Ride Industries or Douglas Scientific, we'd have done better, and I'd be the heir to the mid-continent quilting fortune. But it didn't happen. But nevertheless, I grew up happy and hopeful with the same sense of boundless possibility and optimism that led my dad to take a shot at opening a small business. And when I come back on the weekends to Minnesota and see big businesses and small businesses and labor and community leaders all pulling in the same direction. I know we've got bright days ahead, and especially on these recesses, this is one of the great things about being a senator, is that you spend kind of half your time in Washington and half your time back in your state. And boy, I like taking stuff from Minnesota back to Washington. Minnesota is lucky that we have a strong and diverse economy. Its economic strength rests on people like you. In my travels around the state, I'm really having a renewed sense of optimism from community and business leaders. We have competitive products to sell to the world. In fact, I believe we're going to see more onshoring or insourcing of manufacturing being brought back from China and from overseas. As our economy begins to pick up, this is the perfect moment to lift up those entrepreneurs and leaders with new and innovative ideas. Across industries and all across our state, we need more leaders like you. I want to commend Finance and Commerce for starting Progress Minnesota and its mission to promote and reward those that spend those long hours bettering their communities and their businesses. There are success stories all over our state, and many are represented in tonight's rewardees. The work ahead will not be easy, but there are people in this room who have always led the pack and set an example for their peers. There are people who have dedicated their careers to growing Minnesota's economy and to creating jobs. And let's not forget for a minute that we're on the same team. And when we are, there's really nothing we can't do. Thank you for your kindness, for your friendship, and for inviting me here tonight. I would now ask Steve Yan to return to the podium, or whatever he wants to do, to begin the awards presentations. And congratulations to all of tonight's honorees. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Senator, for some wonderful words. At this point in time, we're going to proceed with the awards presentation. I'd like to invite Todd Street, business banker and advisor from Mid-Country Bank, to come forward, as well as Doug Iverson, the editor-in-chief of Finance and Commerce Incorporated.
For each honoree, we will provide a brief highlight. We invite you to please make your way to the stage when you hear your name called. We ask that our audience please hold their applause until the conclusion of each bio. An in-depth feature of each honoree is included in the special section you will be receiving at the end of the program.
Our first honoree this evening is Stuart Ackerberg. When Stuart joined his family's business 23 years ago, it concentrated mostly on residential projects. Under Stuart's leadership, the Ackerberg Group has carved out a niche of developments that not only create jobs and make money, but add to the aesthetic and cultural appeal of the areas they occupy. Ackerberg's masterpiece might turn out to be Mosaic, a $45 million, 10-story mixed-use complex along Lagoon Avenue in Uptown. The project includes 3 floors of Class A office space, restaurant and retail spaces, along with plenty of that prized uptown commodity, parking. Congratulations, Stuart Ackerberg.
Since its inception in 1988, Community Reinvestment Fund USA and President CEO Frank Altman have attracted $23 million in grants from foundations. CRF uses that money to buy economic development and affordable housing loans from community development lenders across the country. So far, the program has produced $1.3 billion in loans. Beneficiaries include 550 minority and women-owned businesses. The money has also been used to build more than 18,000 affordable housing units, create nearly 46,000 jobs, and serve more than 428,000 people at food banks, healthcare clinics, and charter schools. Congratulations, Frank Altman.
Yvonne Chung Ho, President and CEO, Metropolitan Economic Development Association, used to look forward to working herself out of a job. She doesn't say that anymore. When all Minnesotans achieve equal economic participation, Chung Ho's job will be done. She believes that minority entrepreneurs need MEDA now more than ever because MEDA's clients create jobs. MEDA's work will continue in Minnesota, but Chung Ho is known for her collaboration and leadership skills. Congratulations, Yvonne Chung Ho.
Matthew Dornquist launched his career by becoming one of the first shareware producers in the world and soon landed a job at Tech Haven Control Data. Then he graduated from high school. So it's no surprise that Dornquist's latest venture, Code 42 Software, is one of the most notable technology ventures in the state. The company recently closed on a $52.5 million first-round venture capital funding, one of the largest ever in Minnesota, from Excel Partners and Split Rock Partners. Congratulations, Matthew Dornquist. Matthew couldn't make it tonight. We are happy to accept the award on his behalf.
Martin Habig is the founder and president of Maverick Software Consulting. In 2006, his company began recruiting students to work for Maverick's clients on IT projects. With most internships, student labor is affordable, but the company must recruit, train, and monitor the students. Maverick does all that for the client. Maverick now has 120 students working for 5 clients. It operates 6 offices at 9 universities in Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Iowa. All 164 students who have worked in the program found full-time jobs, a remarkable record in this economy. Congratulations, Martin Habig.
Tom Hyde, owner and president of Aerospace Welding Minneapolis Incorporated and Aerospace Manufacturing Incorporated, has grown both companies into world leaders in general aviation and engine mount repair, as well as manufacturing aircraft and aerospace parts and components. Hyde has succeeded by hiring good people who work hard. A dedication to quality has brought Hyde and his 58 employees successive years of double-digit growth. Congratulations, Tom Hyde.
Amy Nelson is a good example of what happens when you start early. By age 18, Nelson had already worked at 2 home health care companies and opened her own. 10 years later, Accurate Home Care employs 1,600 people in Minnesota and Illinois. In 2007, a Massachusetts company bought a majority stake in Accurate. 3 years later, Accurate bought a similar company in Illinois. It's now consolidating 3 offices in Elk River into 1 location in Otsego. It opened offices in St. Cloud in October and Burnsville in January. The company has been hiring 10 people a week and continues to add new clients. Congratulations, Amy Nelson.
Pam Sartell, president of the Sartell Group, aimed to mold the small business into the type of company she would like to work for. Sartell also transformed the business from providing technology staff augmentation to software development and consulting. The Sartell Group operates with a hybrid model, offering clients everything from creating or revamping software systems to training and troubleshooting. Growing 20% year over year, the Sartell Group landed on Inc. magazine's 5,000 list of fastest growing companies in the country in 2011. Congratulations, Pam Sartell.
Ron Ulseth was in the Navy teaching about nuclear power in Orlando when he realized he wanted to teach engineering for the rest of his career. Ulseth returned to his native Iron Range in 1992 to teach engineering at Hibbing Community College. He collaborated on an interactive television instruction program with Itasca Community College engineering instructor Aaron Wenger. When Wenger retired from full-time teaching in 1998, Ulseth took his place. Ulseth began to apply cognitive psychology to the program, engaging students in hands-on learning, discussion, and reflection. Congratulations, Ron Ulseth.
Perhaps corporate America could learn a thing or two from the Wallace family. Joseph Wallace and his sister Andrea Burns operate Independent Packing Services Incorporated, a transport packaging company in Crystal. Like everyone else, their family-owned business was hit hard by the recession, but instead of scaling back and laying off workers, the second-generation owners took the financial hit. Wallace and Burns cut their own salaries by 35%, reduced the Wallace family's profit share, and kept co-workers on the job. Congratulations, Joseph Wallace and Andrea Burns.
Next, we'd like to talk about the companies and organizations that we're honoring this year. And the first company we will be honoring is Iron Range Engineering. Iron Range Engineering takes students who've earned a 2-year engineering degree and uses an innovative teaching method to help them attain a 4-year degree. The faculty come from Itasca Community College in Grand Rapids and Minnesota State University, Mankato. Mesabi Range Community and Technical College in Virginia provides the space for the students to work. The program graduated its first class of 12 in December. 10 have found engineering jobs, mostly on the Iron Range, and 2 plan to attend graduate school. The program can accommodate 50 and is attracting students from other areas of Minnesota. Accepting this award on behalf of Iron Range Engineering is Dr. Trent Janicic, and apparently the entire program.
Next is Enterprise Minnesota. West Central Minnesota is home to a large number of manufacturers, machinists, and other similar businesses. But their locations in relatively remote areas have meant that top-notch training has not always been available to workers. That has changed. Thanks to the Fergus Falls-based West Central Initiative, which has partnered with Enterprise Minnesota on the Workforce 2020 training program. Since 1992, thanks to the efforts of Workforce 2020 and the Enterprise Minnesota, more than 9,000 workers in West Central Minnesota have received training. According to a 2006 study, companies participating in the training program had less than half the turnover rate of those that didn't. Accepting this award on behalf of Enterprise Minnesota is Rick Kvassiger and Bill Martinson.
Grow Minnesota. Nearly a decade after it began, Grow Minnesota has made its mark on the business community through retention visits and services. It provides online referrals and assistance through its free Business Connection resource, financial help, including more than $5.5 million in grants and loans, and direct consulting on operations, exporting, and other issues. Grow Minnesota assists 1 in 8 companies it visits, or 122 businesses in 2011 alone. The program returns the Minnesota Chamber to one of its historic missions, expressing gratitude for companies that operate in Minnesota and ensuring they stick around. Accepting this award on behalf of Grow Minnesota is Bill Blazer.
We would now like to call up Vizzy. 10 years ago, many companies were leery of co-location services, unsure of the benefits of housing data and applications with an outside provider. These days, it's common practice, and Eden Prairie-based Vizzy has been a leader in that shift. Vizzy plays a major role in supporting small and mid-sized companies statewide, and more than 3,000 Minnesota businesses depend on Vizzy for managed services, cloud-based infrastructure, co-location, hosted services, and connectivity. Just as Vizzy has shaped the state's technology past, look for the company to continue making Minnesota businesses ready for the future. Accepting this award on behalf of Vizzy is Terry Swanson.
Next is Douglas Scientific. Douglas Scientific became a company just 3 years ago to help laboratories become more productive. Now the business has grown by 67 employees, and its leaders are pretty sure they're going to transform laboratory automation. Starting as a division of parent company Douglas Machine, Douglas Scientific incorporated in January 2010. Founder, President, Chief Operating Officer Dan Malmstrom thinks the workforce of 70 employees will grow to 200 in 5 years. Douglas Scientific has already outgrown the 50,000 square foot facility it built just 18 months ago. With a talent pipeline from nearby colleges and the high-tech jobs to attract talent from outside the state, Malmstrom thinks the company will not only affect the economy directly, but also help to create an incubator for biotech companies in the Alexandria area. Accepting this award on behalf of Douglas Scientific is Dan Malmstrom.
Next is Twin Metals, Minnesota. Bob McFarland will tell you that his employer is sitting on the biggest thing that Minnesota has going for itself economically, a wealth of strategic metals waiting to be mined. McFarland is Vice President of Public and Governmental Affairs for Twin Metals Minnesota, a joint company formed in 2010. It operates as a partnership between Duluth Metals and the Chilean conglomerate Antofagasta, one of the world's largest copper producers. Twin Metals mining operation could generate hundreds or thousands of full-time jobs, McFarland says. It could generate millions of dollars in tax revenue and millions more for Minnesota's Permanent School Fund, which receives royalties from state mining rights. Andres Morel will be accepting the award on behalf of Twin Metals, Minnesota.
Center for Energy and Environment. Lighting can be a major expense for small businesses. That's why in 2000, the nonprofit Center for Energy and Environment created its lighting installation and rebate program called the One Stop Efficiency Shop. The One Stop program is funded as part of Xcel Energy's portfolio of state-mandated conservation improvement programs. One Stop helps qualified small business owners across Minnesota save money by helping them install energy-efficient lighting. The average business saves $2,800 annually through the program. The One Stop program performs free lighting audits, offers financing and rebates, and connects business owners to vendors. Richard Sidlowski is accepting the award on behalf of Center for Energy and Environment.
EighthBridge. The Minnesota-based software developer EighthBridge took off 3 years ago, riding the wave of intense interest in social networking and its ability to expand branding and selling on the internet. EighthBridge seized the moment by creating software that allows e-commerce sites to be more social with customers. Today, EighthBridge clients include Ticketmaster, Delta Airlines, and major retail brands like Oscar de la Renta, Avon, and Hallmark. The company also has the media and entertainment industry on its client list, including 20th Century Fox, Paramount, and Lucasfilm. On behalf of EighthBridge, Jamie Tingelstad will be accepting the award.
Delcor Systems might be nearly 40 years old, but the Circle Pines-based manufacturer of packaging machinery still has plenty of that startup spunk, thanks to innovative new products and an expanding global market. The company is growing at its fastest pace ever, hiring dozens of employees and moving to a larger commercial space. The company has proved an innovative partner for clients like Cargill, developing a highly precise machine for packaging its complicated Trevia cartons. Delcor is also known for its spot pack packaging machines, which reduce cardboard use and packaging costs for dairy containers by 50%. The company has received 10 patents for its technology. Accepting this award on behalf of Delcor is Dale Anderson.
Next is emergency physicians. Thanks to emergency physicians, the wait in the emergency room is getting shorter. Emergency physicians is a private practice with 130 ER doctors. Although the practice has been in business since 1969, the owners started the urgency room in 2010 in Woodbury. The urgency room is a standalone clinic where patients can go for any medical emergency that doesn't require an ambulance. But the founders say the copay is lower and the wait is shorter than a hospital ER. The Woodbury Clinic has about 30 full-time positions, which are shared by emergency physicians, doctors, nurses, and other staff who do regular rotations. These are new jobs, not jobs lost by hospitals. Emergency physicians cannot make it tonight, so we are accepting the award on their behalf.
Recon Robotics. Although Recon Robotics creates micro-robot systems used around the world, the company's roots are deep in Minnesota. Formed in 2006, the company started as a way to commercialize technology developed at the University of Minnesota's Distributed Robotics Laboratory, with funding from the National Science Foundation and the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, among others. Originating at the university gives credibility to the institution's research, says company president and CEO Alan Bignall. And Recon Robotics made a contribution to the economy from the very start by hiring several students involved in the program. Accepting the award on behalf of Recon Robotics is Patrick McKinney.
Next up is Atmosphere Recovery. The Eden Prairie-based company Atmosphere Recovery makes advanced gas analyzers priced from $40,000 to $150,000. They are sold to various industries and renewable energy companies to reduce their energy use and product cost. The analyzers measure all important gas reactions every second to allow industrial clients to better control the complex mixture of gases needed to make their products. The primary industries using the laser gas analyzer are steel, oil and gas, pharmaceuticals, and petrochemicals. Among Atmosphere Recovery's clients are Saudi Aramco, U.S. Steel, Hitachi, ADM, and a few Chinese companies. Accepting the award on Atmosphere Recovery's behalf is Ronald Rich.
Entropy Solutions. In Entropy Solutions' Plymouth laboratory, an experimental refrigerator sits attached to monitoring equipment. It doesn't look all that different from other refrigerators, but within its walls are phase change materials, or PCMs, maintaining a steady temperature so efficiently that the compressor barely has to turn on to provide coolant. That's the attraction of Entropy Solutions' patented PureTemp PCMs, the ability to hold a temperature for a long time using renewable materials. Accepting the award for Entropy Solutions is Eric Lindquist.
E-Ride Industries. As the military, federal government, and other organizations seek to be more sustainable, E-Ride has seen intense growth because its vehicles emit no greenhouse gases. The E-Ride vehicle is the size of a small truck and travels up to 50 miles on a charge. That range makes it perfect for navigating military bases, golf courses, parks, and other defined areas. The company produces just 2 vehicles, the EXV2 Patriot and the EXV4. The numbers denote how many passengers they can carry. The company provides some interesting twists on the basic vehicle, including adding solar panels on Navy vehicles in Hawaii. Kurt Bowerly will be accepting this award on behalf of E-Ride Industries.
Our final company award recipient for this evening is Preservation Alliance of Minnesota. For 3 decades, this venerable nonprofit has stepped forward when historic sites have been threatened, educating the public about their heritage. In the process, Preservation Alliance of Minnesota has shown that investing to save Minnesota's historic structures is a ticket to economic development. Currently, the Alliance is soliciting requests for proposals to complete a real estate preservation feasibility study. Once completed, the study might lead to the creation of a revolving fund. The money could be used either for loans to preserve historic properties or allow for their purchase and resale. Accepting the award on behalf of Preservation Alliance of Minnesota is Michael Bjornberg. This year, we have 2 Lifetime Achievement honorees.
Gene Goddard. Gene Goddard spent almost 2 decades with the Minnesota Department of Employment and Economic Development, DEED. Although he grew up on a family farm near Trimont, Minnesota, Goddard joined DEED shortly after college. While at DEED, he helped package more than $800 million in private and public financing to support business development projects throughout Minnesota for companies including Cargill, Nestle, Michael Foods, United Health Group, General Mills, and St. Jude Medical. After reaching the position of Senior Business Development Specialist at DEED, he joined Minneapolis-St. Paul Regional Economic Development Partnership, better known as Greater MSP, last June. At Greater MSP, Goddard is responsible for leading the coordination of new business development projects for the metro area by working with business decision makers, consultants, and real estate managers looking for project locations. According to Goddard, the partnership has numerous development initiatives in the works. Congratulations, Gene Goddard.
Rob West wants to make it clear that he's not retiring, just slowing down a little bit. West, the 67-year-old departing CEO of Duluth-based Area Partnership for Economic Expansion, jokes that it will probably take 4 people to replace him. The exaggeration isn't extreme. West is entertaining offers for new opportunities, content to let work at Apex continue without him. West came to Apex from a varied background that included military service, advertising, university-level teaching positions, and even founding a housewares company. On West's watch, Apex has created productive partnerships with such like-minded entities as the Itasca Economic Development Corp. And the Bayfield Economic Development Corp. He estimates that more than 2,700 jobs, worth nearly $107 million in wages, have been created or retained in the service area since Apex started in 2003. West hopes Apex continues to integrate itself with economic drivers throughout that part of the state. Under West's leadership, Apex has grown from 37 members to more than 60, with revenue increasing from $400,000 to almost $1 million. Congratulations, Rob West. At this time, I'd like to express a big thank you to Todd Streed for helping us present this year's honorees. And now I'd like to welcome to the stage Robin Sternberg. Robin is director of Governor Mark Dayton's Job Creation Initiative, and she helps coordinate the efforts of the Department of Employment and Economic Development and the Governor's Office to promote business and job growth in Minnesota.
Thank you, Doug. Hello, everyone. Good evening. I'm so honored to be here tonight on the inaugural Minnesota Progress Day. And on behalf of the governor and the administration, I would also like to add my congratulations to the honorees. We thank you for your ideas, your energy, your commitment, and the resources you have put forth to help develop products and launch businesses in Minnesota. You and others across Minnesota are making a powerful impact on our economy. Let's have another round of applause for our honorees. I was asked to come tonight to speak briefly about the governor's jobs initiative and his commitment to entrepreneurship. Well, since November 2010, when Mark Dayton was the presumed governor-elect, he made it clear that his top priority was job creation. Since then, I have had the privilege of working on that jobs initiative with him and with Kathy Thunheim, Senior Advisor on Job Creation, and Mark Phillips, the Commissioner of the Department of Employment and Economic Development. Well, it took some getting used to, honestly, to think that my title said job creation on it, and especially to think that that there would be a public initiative to support private sector growth. I did get a few raised eyebrows when I introduced myself after the inauguration. Of course, we know that government doesn't really create jobs, but we are all excited about working to facilitate job growth and about creating value for businesses throughout Minnesota. We wanted to find the best ideas that we could around the state and around the country, and to build partnerships that would leverage resources and get us all organized around our common goals. Fortunately, we found more than a few people who are willing to engage with us. Let's face it, Minnesotans are uniquely industrious, high achievers, collaboratives, and willing to attend a lot of meetings. Over the first year, we actually met with and listened to well over 1,000 business and economic development leaders. Many of you are actually in the room tonight, and I thank you for your help during that first year. The governor held 12 economic roundtable discussions with hundreds of people around the state, and last fall he hosted a jobs summit. During that time, we asked 3 very simple questions of all these people. What is working for you around job creation and economic development? And we heard a lot of praise about programs like the Angel Tax Credits, our highly educated workforce, and the Urban Initiative Loan Program. We also asked, more importantly, what is not working? And we heard a lot about how the permitting process was taking a long time, how many businesses were having a hard time finding skilled workers. We heard about talent migration and the declining number of entrepreneurs and venture capital that are in Minnesota right now. And finally, we asked, what is needed to fuel businesses and job growth? And the number one answer we heard all over Minnesota was access to capital, that businesses, especially small businesses, really need access to capital. Well, of course, we know that Minnesota is actually doing pretty well overall compared to other states. We're number 1 in Fortune 500s per capita. We're ranked number 8th in high school graduates enrolling in higher education. We have one of the most highly productive workforces, and we have world-class research institutions and graduate schools. Minnesota ranks number 2 in the U.S. in the number of patents registered from 2006 to 2010. We were one of the fastest states to recover from the recession. And MarketWatch ranks Minneapolis-St. Paul as number 3 in metropolitan areas for business. Best U.S. metropolitan areas for business. We are so proud of our recovery our strengths, and where we are today. But being the high achievers that we are, we remind ourselves that it is not enough to be competitive nationally. We want to be competitive globally. As for our future, the world is changing, and so is Minnesota. If we examine our economic forecast, we realize that we cannot take our economic strengths for granted. We are actually facing some true challenges and will not be as strongly positioned unless we do some crucial work that is needed to ensure our state maintains its ability to compete. In response to the input we received in all our research that we did, the governor identified an initial set of 7 priorities for job creation. They are to increase access to capital, especially for small businesses and minority-owned businesses. We should expand markets for Minnesota products through exporting and foreign direct investment. We want to invest in infrastructure that will allow our businesses to compete. We need better alignment in our education and training for jobs in demand. And notably, we need, our graduates need training in soft skills as well as hard skills. We need to close the achievement gap and the employment gap. And you've all read that Minnesota has the #1 black-white employment disparity. We want to streamline our government regulations, and we want to reduce the cost of government. Within these 7 priorities, there are significant bodies of work being done, all with private sector engagement. Directly and indirectly, we believe all of them will help Minnesota businesses succeed. Hopefully, the 7 priorities are a good set of first goals for us. However, we need to look further into the future, and we're starting to talk about developing the need to develop a business plan for Minnesota for our economic future. We all want our state to continue to be a leader in the tradition of being inventors and having ingenuity and workforce quality. And we know that entrepreneurs and businesses are central to job creation and growth. To get there, we will need to focus on things like educating, retaining, and attracting the top talent in the world, create an ecosystem and a culture that supports innovation, invest in higher education, technology, and infrastructure, attract venture capital investment, and provide technical support to small businesses. We also need to support emerging businesses with policies that eliminate red tape and allow them to move at the speed of commerce. Minnesota, with all its attributes and strengths, is absolutely poised to continue its path of success. As the economic recovery takes hold, we will have to make important decisions together that will steer us in either the direction of staying on the sidelines or to become leaders in the development and attraction of emerging growth industries. Coming from one of Minnesota's most successful entrepreneurial families, Governor Dayton has a vision for our economic future that very much centers on innovation and growth. If there is a consensus on that vision, it will require investment based on clear and bold strategic priorities. We are humble enough to know that the state cannot make these decisions or set these priorities on its own. We will need your smart minds and your continued leadership. And we are hopeful that you will continue working with us to provide your insights, recommendations, and partnership towards a plan for our future. Most of all, we want to support you in what you do best, to develop and make new knowledge and technology-driven products and services and sell them to the world. Thank you again for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here, and I commend you on such a successful event tonight. Thank you.
Let's have a little bit more fun. I'd like Todd from Mid-Country Bank to come forward because I believe we are going to do a drawing for an iPad.
from Transwestern, Melissa McKinnon.
Never won anything in my life. Oh well, why start now? This has been a wonderful evening, recognizing some of the real entrepreneurs and go-getters in the state. As the senator said earlier, one of the huge assets this state has is its labor force, its workers, the entrepreneurs. I'm extending his statement a bit, but it's you folks in the audience that really drive the process and really move things forward. Could the winners please stand one more time? This never gets old. On behalf of all of us at Finance and Commerce, our sponsor, Mid-Country Bank, thank you all for coming this evening. Hopefully we see a lot of you next year. Take care, drive carefully.